Let's go down the rabbit hole of this enterprise blockchain, or not Bitcoin but blockchain. I tend to agree with you that 99% of those use cases or applications are complete garbage, right? And if you take a step back and you remove all of the hype and sexiness of the word blockchain, you're talking about a database, right? I mean, that is what we're talking about here.
Exactly.
And so in order for people to get that excited about a database, there would either have to be such a technical leap in terms of efficiency, effectiveness, etc., or two, there would have to be something that database allowed us to do that we previously weren't able to do before.
Yeah,
right?
It's a sort of enterprise blockchains are a back office automation system, right? It's a form of it's a back office upgrade essentially. And the awesome part is Wall Street historically doesn't put money into the back office, right? It puts the bare minimum because it's not a profit center, it's a cost center.
Mm-hmm.
Why invest more in the back office than you absolutely need to? This really is a way for back office teams to lobby for more financing for their for the sort of essential infrastructure that needs to upgrade. And so I don't see a lot of value being captured there. Because actually they're creating hypothetically more efficient systems,
Mm-hmm.
right? If there's all these sort of improved efficiencies, I don't see how it might be cutting costs, but I don't see it creating and subsequently capturing a lot of value, which is the disconnect I think a lot of people have in this ecosystem broadly, not just on Wall Street, but in general, is the disconnect between value creation and value capture. I think that problem remains sort of largely unsolved in many teams' minds.
Absolutely. And so if Bitcoin is that digital currency, right, and maybe take some time to play out, but we eventually get to, hey, this is a true currency that has multiple properties that we're looking for. Do you think that there is a world in the digital age of finance where there is digital stocks, digital bonds, digital commodities, kind of all of these other applications that aren't necessarily enterprise blockchain, but they are digital assets, they're native to this environment, but they represent or have analogous, kind of properties to their non-digital peers?
Yes, Pom. I think we'll tokenize the world.
No.
No, I think that all sort of financial instruments will eventually be digital in some form, right? Even stuff that's represented with paper now in the basement of the DTCC, I think it's all going to be digital. It's sort of inevitable. And I, sort of welcome that future. That'll be really exciting. I think that there will emerge kind of new capital market structures altogether, where deals will be financed sort of frictionlessly all over the world. You'll be able to move from brokerage A to brokerage B in a very straightforward process. I think that all of that infrastructure will eventually exist because I see, capital markets and capital formation. I see sort of sound money first as the largest addressable market, and not by a small difference. It's by many orders of magnitude. And then sort of second thing I find compelling is actually a recreation of a capital market structure around that. So I do think that this will be somewhat inevitable. But actually the things that are interesting to me here are less around what a lot of sort of more tokenized securities offerings and kind of unique financing models and on people have proposed doing under Reg D offerings here in the U.S. What I'm interested in is actually kind of like the more subversive stuff, right? Where I would consider Binance Coin, right? BNB, Binance's native exchange token to be an example of what I would consider a subversive, illegal securities offering is a stretch because it might be illegal only to U.S. investors. But, they basically raised an ICO, issued a token in exchange for that, had some discounts and features for holders of the token, and then issued a basically burn mechanism where they bought back tokens and subsequently burned them based on their profits every quarter. And now they're launching, very, very, very sizable crypto fund that's investing in very high quality early stage projects. And they're basically passing on returns from that fund back to users, right? So, what I'm describing is entirely a security, right? It's a very sort of unique form of security where it has this dual utility function and security-like feature where, the benefits of the efforts of Binance and their team feeds right back into the security. And many people would be appalled, right? They would consider it super illegal. But what they've now created is a very broad investor base of, tens of thousands, if not hundreds of thousands of investors all over the world, all of whom have profited substantially. The token has appreciated substantially, and they've been fully transparent. I think the next levels for them is moving to a decentralized exchange model, which they've been working on for some time, first. Second, shifting to a model where all of their cash flows are actually directly distributed on chain, right? And they can do, once they have a decentralized exchange going, they can even do potential buybacks and burning functions all autonomously. And what happens in that universe starts to resemble something much more close to a DAO structure. And while I think the DAO was a disaster, it was still exciting, right? It was exciting for me to follow. It's still exciting to me now. I think the potential for DAOs is very underappreciated. And all of these DAOs, I think, will have, equity-like characteristics, right? I think that they will exist all over the world in all sorts of different capital formation structures, and that's really cool to me. And so around that, I do see a whole new sort of decentralized financial system forming. Whether all of these will have separate tokens, I don't know. And there's a number of questions that remains there. How will governance look in this sort of a DAO-like universe? But it's cool. It's exciting.